magnitude. Just the past few hours, a powerful earthquake has hit Chile, triggering a tsunami alert along the country's entire coastline and elsewhere in the Pacific. The quake, magnitude 8.3, centered off the coast just over 150 miles northwest of the capital, Santiago. Waves up to 15 feet have hit the Chilean coastal city of Coquimbo, and there is now a tsunami alert for parts of California's coastline, though we are told the waves there will be less than a foot high. The quake shook buildings in the Chilean capital, Santiago. Local media report Brazil and in Argentina, on the other side of the continent, also felt the tremors. The Chilean president is reporting 3 deaths. Well, the resident of Santiago, Matias Tonero, described the quake just after it hit and how people were feeling there.
It was a big earthquake. It was strong. It was long. But Santiago is now very well prepared for all of this. So people was really in panic at the beginning, but now people is more in calm. It was 500 kilometers north, so it was 8.3. Here, I think it was something strong, but about like 7 point something. But as I tell you, I mean, everything goes okay. Everybody's still doing their things. People is worried, but restaurants are okay. I mean, like with people having dinner.
Matias Tonero there speaking to us from Santiago. A little later I spoke to our correspondent in Rio de Janeiro, Willa Davis, who's worked and lived in Chile for some time.
Yeah, I mean, Santiago, as we heard there, is virtually an earthquake-proof city. Chile has such a history of earthquakes that buildings there are designed to withstand earthquakes. That's why there's been no big aftershocks, there's been no buildings collapsing and no reports of deaths in the capital itself. But as with these kind of earthquakes, especially those deep under the sea, it's the following 3 or 4 hours that are critical. Now, this was a massive earthquake, about 8.3 on the Richter scale, and such was the size of the earthquake as the tsunami warning is now not just been issued for Chile itself and its 4,000-kilometer coastline, but Ecuador, Peru, Southern California, Hawaii, and as far west as New Zealand, right across the other side of the Pacific. So the next couple of hours are going to be pretty critical and crucial. If those big waves do start coming ashore in South America, then people on the other side of the Pacific will start to get worried as well. Chile has a long history of earthquakes. Thousands of people have been killed ever since they started keeping records. As recently as 2010, 500 people were killed when a tsunami hit southern Chile after an earthquake. So Chileans very aware of the dangers, but so far so good. Only reports of 1 or 2 deaths and a few buildings in smaller towns having been flattened. But it's that tsunami and the possibility of big waves hitting the coast that most people are worried about. Yeah, and one quake, I think, in Chile so big it knocked the earth slightly off its axis. Not just warnings, of course, we are hearing waves up to 4.5 meters high, nearly 15 feet, have hit the Chilean coastal city of Coquimbo. Tell us about evacuation procedures and also the geography. How easy is it for people to get far enough away fast enough? Well, Chile's a very narrow country, only about 30 miles across for its narrowest point. So a lot of people live on the coast in Coquimbo. The central region, Valparaiso, Viña del Mar, will be very well protected and people will know how to get up into the mountains. The problem will come up in those far-to-reach areas in southern Chile, like Puerto Montt, and in the remote areas where it's very difficult for rescue workers to get to. Buildings down there aren't as well protected as the buildings in the capital. It's a similar story to the north in Arica, Antofagasta, and also in southern Peru as well. Our correspondent Willa Davis there in Brazil, but as I say, knows Chile very well indeed. Cindy Prella is a tsunami program manager at the National Tsunami Warning Center in Alaska. Cindy, thanks very much for giving us your time. What can you tell us?
Hi, it's good to speak with you this evening. Well, we have a tsunami underway, and both the state of Hawaii and a portion of Southern California are in advisory status, which means we're expecting strong currents, unpredictable water behavior, and we'd like people to keep the beaches clear and out of the harbors.
And what sort of size waves are you expecting?
You know, not actual waves themselves. We aren't really expecting, the classic tsunami to come up on shore and scare people. This is more unpredictable, fast water.
So so the tsunami is less worrying in the area that you cover than it might have been. We are hearing pretty big waves up to 4.5 meters high, nearly 15 feet, hitting some Chilean coastal cities.
Yes, of course, and we are not expecting anything at that scale, and we sure have a lot of sympathy for the Chileans that are closest to the event.
Are you aware what the danger may be now for Peru, for Ecuador?
You know, I'm not, but my feeling as a geologist is that the main energy of the tsunami is perpendicular to the coastline of Chile, and so that energy will actually bypass Peru and Ecuador. I mean, they may experience the same thing that we're expecting in California, which is some pretty fast, crazy current water, but I don't expect them to have a tsunami, anything like Chile's experiencing.
And I appreciate it's well out of your area, but with your expertise in this field, how concerned should people in New Zealand be? There were worries there.
Sure, and I think their danger is probably similar to ours. You know, they can travel across the entire ocean basin, and usually earthquakes in the mid-8s tend to not send a wave that matches what they're experiencing in the near shore. But New Zealand also may have some very fast, crazy water.
So just to be clear, in the area specifically that you cover, Hawaii, Southern California, that you're not expecting any kind of serious waves, but very serious currents.
Correct. And we would like people to stay clear of the beach and stay clear of the harbors, because it could knock a lot of stuff around, and if humans are in there, they could get hurt.
Cindy, thank you very much indeed. Taking you back to that quake that's hit Chile and triggered a tsunami. Our reporter Jane Chambers is in Ritoque, about 100 kilometres from the epicenter.
We've got power cuts here. The local town have been evacuated, along with many towns along the Chilean coast. It all happened around 8 o'clock. I was making supper for my children when it just started trembling. Usually that goes on for about 20-30 seconds and you don't think anything of it because, as you know, Chile is very prone to earthquakes. But this went on for a good 3 minutes and was much, much stronger than anything I've ever felt before. I think we're about 131 kilometers from the main epicenter in Illapel, where 2 people have been reported to have died. We've got all the local neighbors have come up to us because it's very high where we are, so we're actually all right. But there were tsunami alerts coming to us on our mobiles all the time, but it seems to have died down now, which is good.
So obviously where you are safe from any problems with big waves, but how are people reacting generally? It must be very difficult for them to find out how relatives and friends in other parts of the country are.
Yes, but there have been some waves here. I mean, my husband was coming to our house and he wasn't initially allowed to come to where we are because there was water and there were police, and he was turned back, but he insisted on coming here. So we have had water, we have had floods, and we're right on the coast here. And there have been waves elsewhere, but probably not as big as one would think.
Our correspondent who lived in Chile for some time was just describing Santiago at least as pretty much earthquake proof because, as you say, there have been so many earthquakes in Chile. How vulnerable is it where you are to a big quake like this?
Well, he's right. I mean, because they're used to this, the houses are built with that in mind. You're at the top, say, on the 14th story of a block of flats, and you can see the other buildings kind of swaying, but they're built to resist this kind of thing. So the houses around here are fine, even though it was a very, very strong earthquake.
And we've had these reports of waves up to 4.5 meters high, nearly 15 feet, of course, hitting the coastal city of Coquimbo. There are tsunami alerts for Peru, Ecuador, Hawaii, New Zealand, Southern California, although in Southern California it seems likely those waves are going to be much smaller. Tell us something about the geography and how fast people can react. Can people get away from the coast quick enough?
Well, there have been a lot of traffic jams, a lot of people in cars trying to get away. They're used to this kind of thing, so I haven't heard that there have been big problems with pile-ups or people having problems getting away because they're aware of these kind of alerts and that they need to act fast. So certainly in the local town, lots of them got away, they've come here. But it is an issue of people in cars, and there have been problems on the roads of them getting very, very full of people trying to leave where they were.
In Chambers there, talking to us from Retoque. Let's speak now to Roberto Contreras. He just got off a plane, I think, in Santiago as the airport was being evacuated because of the quake. Roberto, what can you tell us?
Good evening. I had just arrived on a flight coming in from Calama in the Atacama Desert into Santiago, and we were on the tarmac, just about to board the bus to take us to the terminal, and I noticed the bus shaking and everybody inside moving, and people started getting off the bus, and I turned around and looked at the airport, the entire airport, and all the airplanes on the tarmac. Everything was shaking. It, as your previous caller, it just went on and on and on. I happen to have been here in 2010 with the big earthquake then. This one almost felt double the length in time-wise.
And that one in 2010, Roberto, of course, killed, I think, hundreds of people, about 500 people, and there was a big tsunami. I mean, even in a country that's used to earthquakes, it is terrifying, isn't it? And this was a big one.
It was a big one. Somehow it seemed more in control. People, as your previous caller mentioned, with the experience, there was no panic. There was concern, but no panic. There's massive airports just evacuated very, very quickly. I'm at the moment in Quintay, just 44 kilometers on the coast south of Valparaiso. The tsunami warning lights and the alarms are on, but we don't see much activity. It seems calm.
The president has spoken officially of 3 people dead, and there are these reports of waves up to 4.5 meters high, nearly 15 feet, hitting the coastal city of Coquimbo. Have you heard anything more about that? And can you tell us anything about that area? How easy is it going to be for people to get away fast enough?
It's everything, the experience from the previous earthquake, it's signposted. So people have and know, majority know the evacuation routes. We happen to be, about 80 meters from the sea. We're looking down at the sea. There's no one down there. So everybody has come up. There's a few of the local fishermen who do live on the coastline. They've all come up.
Now, I know you work as a film cameraman. I think you have family on the coast, don't you? Have you had contact with them, and how is the situation for them?
Everybody seems to be fine. As it was mentioned before, the architecture includes a tremendous amount of reinforcement. I drove through Santiago on my way back to our home here on the coast, and I did not see any damage on the roads or buildings we passed.
What are you being advised to do and where to go?
We have a meeting point just up the hill. It's a soccer field, so it's away from telephone poles and electricity. So it's a fairly safe place, away from big trees and so forth.
Roberto, thank you very much indeed for talking to us. I hope you and all those people with you can stay safe. Thank you.